Welcome to the Road to Redemption podcast with your host, Cam Williamson. Each week, Cam sets out to shatter the labels and stigmas associated with mental health awareness by giving life lessons and raw overviews of events happening around the world.
All right, what is up, guys? Welcome back to this episode of the Road to Redemption podcast. I'm, as always, your grateful host, Cam Williamson, and today I'm going to talk about the topic that floods my inbox probably the most, especially as of recently. Why am I alone all the time? If you follow me just on YouTube, you'll see most of my solo adventures where I go out hiking or whatever. And before that, I did a lot of outdoor skateboarding. I did that with my buddy Thomas for a while. People like that. They like the interactions between Thomas and I and our little banters. My podcast has mostly always been solo. I've done some interviews and stuff like that, but I've never had a co-host. And a lot of people have asked me why. If you follow me on Instagram, you get to see more of my day-to-day. I'm kind of an old school guy, I guess. I do still post my daily happenings on my Instagram story. So in that portion, you see my daughter more. You don't see my wife on any of my social medias, really. That's for a few reasons. One, she's not around a lot. She works all the time, and, that's an essence to that. And with my kids, I do everything around my kids' schedule. So I make sure that they're in bed by a certain time, awake by a certain time, to school when they need to be. And then after their school time is me and them time. And I don't negotiate that time with anything or for anybody. So why am I always alone doing my activities? Wouldn't I like to bring my family? Sure, I would like to bring them. My daughters are still too young to really go out in the mountains and do that kind of stuff. But during the weekends and at night, that's when we have our time together, and we do things that are more age appropriate for them. Sometimes I can get myself into some sketchy waters out there in the wilderness and doing stuff and adventuring, and I would never want to put my family through that. So I would definitely bring them, and I do bring them on nice walks and stuff like that, but there's nothing video worthy in that. It's me trying to spend time with my family, and I'm not setting up a camera and then walking somewhere and then walking back and getting the camera and finding a new place. So, that's no fun for them. They're not directors. They don't care to make videos and stuff like that. Also, I've learned over time that I'm better by myself. Now, this is involuntary. I think anyone who tells you that they love to be alone all the time, I think they're being disingenuous. I've never loved to be alone. I've always rather had people that I love and appreciate and care about greatly around me at all times. But I've come to accept the fact that I'm extreme in my old age. When I do things, I don't half do them. There's no slight interest or hobbies for me. I turn everything into a very deep passion, because if it interests me, I want to learn everything that I can about it. And that's been tough in the way of having friends, because I'll hang out with you every day. If we've made a plan that we're going to, work on something for a summer, or we're going to go to the gym and, do whatever, I've always been a bonding person. I like to bond with people, and I like to bond with people over experiences. And I've found that either I'm always just too much for people, I'm not enough of whatever certain people are looking for, or I don't know. I honestly have never been able to figure it out, but I found around the time that I was 20 that I just ended up alone a lot by myself. And instead of allowing that to make me sad or upset me anymore, which I allowed it to do for a very long time, I learned to enjoy it. I learned that, yes, I have lost friends and people that I care about greatly in my life, some who are alive and some who aren't. And that, my whole life, I only had a core group of people around me. I was never the guy that had a ton of friends. I had acquaintances. I would say most people, if you saw me, you knew who I was or you had heard of me, but that was probably either because of my cousin or something like that. Um, or we came up in school around each other, but I just wasn't someone who, when I lost my best friend, Griff, right before middle school, that really changed a lot for me because when I had Griff and his brother Trey, that filled a void for me. That was, I had an older sister that hated my guts all the time. So I never really had anyone around me that was like, yo, you're dope to kick it with, other than my best friend Griff and Trey. And then when I lost them, I became like this alley cat of a new neighborhood where nobody knew me. They had all come up together like I came up with Griff and his brother. And I hung out with these kids, sure, like when I went to my grandparents' house, but I didn't know them. And they didn't know me, and we did different things and whatever. So my attention became girls very quick. Which most guys don't really fall hard into the girl sect where they disconnect from their friends and their passions and their hobbies until high school or even later if you're healthy. I did that early. I did that about the time that me and Griff stopped hanging out. So right before middle school, I was booed up all the time, and I was always in these very extreme, passionate, young love romances where we were trying to find ways to hang out on the weekend. We were sneaking out to see each other. We were doing wild shit. I don't talk about it much, but one of my first girlfriends, her name is Paige, and that was like my first girlfriend. When you're a kid, you have, oh, that's my girlfriend. We see each other in the hallways and whatever. But like Paige and I was the first ones that we went and did shit together. Like we went and saw movies. We went roller skating was a big thing in middle school. You went to the roller rink in Grove City, Ohio on the weekends, and you just hung out there, and like you had your own little world at the skating rink. You had places where the cool kids sat and where the not so cool kids sat, and Paige was always a very I've noticed in my life, I've always dated very confident, very I'm here, this is who I am, and they kind of control a room, the women that I'm with, which is interesting. Um because I don't necessarily like that all the time. I don't like not a dominant or not a um you know what's the word I'm looking for? A woman who is able to stand in herself, confident woman. I like that. But I've found that like I noticed with Paige, anytime we would go to like the skating rink, everyone would flock around her, even if she wasn't doing anything. They just wanted to be around her just to listen to her speak or hear her, even just chill, kind of sit. And I've noticed I've always been around drawing figures like that, and that's been fine with me because I'm used to being the accent player and everything. So I think maybe that was a part of it. um Maybe in some way I felt good because I was the one that was with the person that everyone wanted to stand around or skate with or whatever. And I think my desperation to be liked came out so bad that people kept me around because they knew I would do anything for them. They knew I would do anything to entertain them. They knew that I would belittle myself and tear myself down for everyone else's expense. So I was an easy person to have around for entertainment, but I became too much too quick for everybody all the time. It wasn't until I started drinking that people started running away in droves because then I realized nobody liked me, but I realized I was this party guy and I was around because I was a party and someone, you'd probably have a story to tell about Cam when he left. But at a certain age, people get tired of that kind of shit and they're tired of you breaking their stuff or, jumping out of windows isn't funny anymore or whatever. Like, people get tired of the antics. And I didn't really grow up until I was about 25. So by that point, rekindling things with childhood friends is not really a thing. People that didn't have their head up their ass their whole life was moving on and keeping up with the friends they had and building lives and living day to days and going on the adventures that I'm now going on. And I missed a lot of that. I missed a lot of that because my inability to settle myself and my inability to stop all the wandering so much. I have that innate in me where I have to wander, I have to go, I have to get out, and I have to be by myself for a while. Now, when I say by myself, I just mean like I have to go out into the nature or go do what I love to do. I love to have people with me, but I am a very quiet person as I get older. I don't talk a lot. It's harder for me to get on here and do these podcasts because I just don't have that much to say a lot of the time. Because, and I think this is why I'm talking about it, and it's just because I am alone so much in my day. I'm maybe around, like, my daughter is the person I'm around the most. You know, I pick her up from school around 3:30 and I'm with her till she goes to bed at 8:30 or 9, and then, you know, that's really it. And I see her for about an hour in the morning, and, you know, my wife is in those times as well, but a little less in that window. So for me, it became, how do I survive? Because I was so lonely that it made me so depressed that I was suicidal, feeling like nobody loved me. I would never be good enough for anyone to want to commit more than just a couple hours to. Or I wasn't someone that people wanted to make plans with. I wasn't someone that people wanted to be around, you know? And I don't know why. I don't have answers for that. Um, I know that I'm extreme in the passions that I have for things. I know that I'm willing to go anywhere with like conversations or feelings or interests. Nothing is really off limits when you talk to me, and I've noticed that people really struggle with that. They think that um, conversations and human interactions are meant to be kept in this box of what's appropriate and what should be said and what should not be said. And I've just found that over the last 5 to 10 years, we've become less genuine as people. And I don't have patience for small talk. I don't have patience for wasting each other's time. I'm so driven by the idea of experiencing this life as much as I can while I'm here, because I was afraid to for so long. And I think I was afraid to because anytime I was out doing something that I was supposed to be enjoying, I was sitting around going, oh, well, I can't enjoy this because that person's not here. If they were here, then I would actually enjoy it. Or I can't enjoy this because I'm not sharing it with anybody. It's like, nah, that's not what enjoying an experience is supposed to be. Enjoying an experience is just being in it, not pulling the phone out. I notice now, like, when I'm out on these hikes or when I'm out doing whatever I'm doing, when I have that instinct to pull my phone out, that's telling me something's happening here. So instead of recording it, pay attention to it. Just look, because it must be cool, right? So look at it and enjoy that for a minute. And, you know, I'm the type of person that I want to tell you about that moment and that realization because I think maybe it could help. And I notice a lot of times when I say stuff like that, when I'm like, like if we're driving in the car back somewhere, I'm like, I was sitting there and I almost pulled my phone out. And I just thought, man, like, maybe that is some kind of warning in our heads that a real moment is occurring, that you want to pull that phone out and record. So maybe that's the exact moment you shouldn't. And I get it. It's kind of an open-ended thought or whatever, but I like people that will bounce that idea around. And that's kind of why I love podcasting so much, because it's just never-ending flows of thought. And a lot of people either don't have the desire to match with that or they just don't do it. And for me, it's almost physically painful to sit and listen to people who are not good at communicating, who don't listen, who have no interest in what the other person is saying, and they're only waiting to be able to speak. Nothing will shut me down faster mentally than just watching someone who's just so committed to saying what they're going to say, or let's do the same mundane shit every day, all day. Nothing will tune me out or turn me off faster to anything. And again, I think a lot of people are just comfortable in routine, and a lot of people, take it as overbearing when you're checking on them like I think people should, making daily contact with people who are in your life. Hey, you good? I bet. Trying to actively make plans when you have friends. Hey, let's grab lunch. Hey, do you want to set a thing where we have breakfast every Sunday? Like, I'm that kind of guy. I'll meet you at the same restaurant every Sunday at 9 o'clock and like nothing. And I promise you, I won't let anything interfere with that time if we set it. I will explain to my daughters, like, hey, just so you know, daddy goes and does this at this time because it's important that you have friends and it's important that you check on them and it's important that you stay tapped in with them to make sure that they're doing good. But, you can send out so many invites that fall on red before you just decide, hey, man, it's definitely cool to make that same tradition with my family where every Sunday now we just have breakfast at this time. No debating. No matter who has to work, no matter what, like my daughter knows, you and I will be having breakfast together on Sunday or whatever our thing is. I like to feel like people can count on me. I like to feel like I don't ask a lot of people. I try not to ask anything of anybody. I try to do my own thing and try to accessorize to whatever I can help other people with as much as I can. But I don't know. Generally, I look at myself as a bother in a lot of cases. So when I'm out in the woods and when I'm hiking and when I'm climbing, I'm not bothering anyone. I feel like I'm a bother because I'm constantly calling people to check on them. Hey, just want to tell you I love you. I'm thinking about you. And, okay, yeah, yep, love you. Okay, bye. And it's just a quick whatever. And again, you feel like you're bothering people because they're, and they'll tell you all the time, I'm busy with work. I can't answer. I'm busy with work. I'm trying to get to work. I'm trying to get home from work. I'm blah, blah, blah. And it's all this stuff. And it's like, nah, man, you're doing something, right? Like, you're listening to something, you're talking to someone, you're whatever. Like, in 2022, I don't accept the thing of like, I'm too busy to have a conversation or to call someone back or to respond to anything. Sure, we can let ourselves feel like we're too busy, but that's still our own fault. If we're letting people go by the wayside of not communicating with them and telling them how much we love them, I know we have no right to talk about mental health because that's how we lose people. I technically by a statistic, since I have contemplated and, attempted suicide on a few times, like times like now should be really concerning for my family because I go pretty quiet and I don't really want to talk to anybody because I've just realized there's little interest in speaking to me unless somebody needs something, but they don't. And, it's one of those things where I guess that's just the curse of being a guy. If I was to go and relapse or, do whatever, yeah, people would care and they would be very upset with me and they would say, why didn't you talk to somebody? And I can tell you that, like, people who are alone all the time, most of us didn't start by being alone. Like, we tried talking. We tried to communicate. We tried to fit. We tried to be valuable to other people. And I can just tell you, in a world that cares so much about, like, supply and demand and marketing and advertising of products and services, it's made people feel very unwanted. It makes the individual person feel like the demand for you is very small. Because today, unless you're good for, a collab on Instagram or collabing on a YouTube video or talking about a brand or doing a podcast together, there's not much people really have to say to me. I don't have friends that call and check on me. They're busy doing their shit. And sometimes it feels selfish to me where I'm like, damn, it does suck to not have any friends. But at the same token, every person I've ever been friends with, I still keep up with them on social media. I follow them and stuff. not every person, but the ones that mean a lot to me. And, I just see them out doing their own thing. So it's not like I look at it anymore as people out living a life that they chose to live without me. I just accept the fact I wasn't meant to be around a lot of people. I was somebody who maybe you guys can pinpoint why, but I'm just somebody that has been cast out, I guess, to the wilderness. I feel more at home in the trees and in the wilderness, and the most annoying part of that is when I have to walk past other people and be like, "Hi, how are you?" And it's like, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to fake pleasantries. I don't want to nothing. I just want to be, and I want to experience what really is, not what Hollywood makes up or advertising companies make up or promises that people tell you that they're not going to fulfill, or more talks that you're going to have that are going to turn around and have them again because the person doesn't really care. Like, all this stuff, all the times that I feel like a huge letdown, finally I looked at it as like, man, other people let me down a lot too. And there's a lot of power in that, where it's like, I don't have to keep letting people let me down. Because there's been so many people that I have told, like, hey, I'm a lot, and I understand that I'm a lot. And if I'm too much for you, you could tell me, and, I'll chill, or, I won't hit you up, or, whatever. And it's always that thing where people are like, no, I love it. I love that people care. And it's good to have genuine, authentic people again. But then again, like when you call them on a random Sunday and you're like, yo, I was making family dinner. I made you and your clan some. Like, there you go. They're like, nah, man, I'm busy. I can't stop by and like grab nothing, or, whatever. And you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. But like when we talked about if I made food that I would call you and do this, you didn't take that serious at all. And I did. But I don't know why I did. I should have seen it as like, oh, we're just bumping gums right now. I remember when I made my studio, and you guys can see some of it still on my channel. When I made my studio, the most important thing to me was that I was building a family of people. I brought a few individuals in who had their own brands. One was an apparel shop, one was a shoe company that he customized sneakers, and another one was a photographer. And they were, they're all brands. I didn't want anything from them. I wasn't a part of their brand or anything. But the only thing I wanted is like, yo, let's do something together. Let's make this a family where once a week we have all of our individual families come here and we talk about like what's going on at the studio. We don't have to talk about work at all. We could just talk about whatever. And it was like we did it once and everything immediately started falling apart just because people couldn't communicate with each other over something that was so simple. Nobody but me was paying for anything. They just had to show up and be a family, and we couldn't even do that. And it was like, in that moment, this was 2 summers ago, I think I realized, like, damn, you can give people everything. You can literally have nothing to expect from anyone except to just be decent human beings and care about one another the way that they claim that they do. And, literally just be an open-ended resource funnel for people. And they'll still show you that they're just going to use you. And the second you're not of value anymore, they'll forget about you. There won't be a check-in. There won't be a, hey, how's it going? There won't be a, hey, sorry that happened. It's just a lot of silence. And I've also noticed that when people don't know what to do, they just go silent. And I respect that. I respect people's desire to not have confrontation and uncomfort in their life. I just think that a lot of people don't realize it leaves a lot of people alone. It leaves a lot of people hurting, and it leaves a lot of people sad. I don't have a good answer because, again, I'm not alone all the time by choice. I wish I had a best friend. I wish I had someone who wanted to be around all the time, who made an active effort to do things together, or to just communicate together. I don't know. It's one of those things where I guess you truly are blessed if you have great friends and you have people around you that are very passionate about you and not for what you do for them or what light you shine on them that gets them a certain popularity or whatever. Or I guess what status you bring them by being their wife, brother, sister, husband, cousin, whatever. It's like, I don't know. I think a lot of the times our relationships become almost transactional, where it's, I'm this for you and you're this for me, and if you're anything outside of that, well, that's got nothing to do with me. And I just don't think that's healthy. We don't accept people as they are. We don't care about people's rawness. We don't care about them as a total being. We care about the pieces and parts that we can pick and pull at for our own gain and benefit, and that's just not how we should treat human beings. So, with that being said, I don't know. I guess I'm always kind of looking for friends, right? Like when I'm out there in the trees and shit, I see people all the time that, will happen to be stopping at the same peak of a hill and to look at the site, and you just sit there and talk for a minute. I'm not opposed to taking down someone's number and being like, hey, man, let's start hiking together or something, but it's not something I look for either. It's not something I've learned to truly enjoy every minute that I go out and I get to spend time out in nature, because I can literally do whatever I want. If I want to hike for 10 miles, I can. If I want to hike for 2 and then get back down in the city I've never been in and find a good lunch spot, I can do that. And I take pictures now and I put them on my social medias, and if there's friends from the past or whatever that want to see what I'm up to, they can see what I'm up to. And if they want to talk about it, they can talk about it with me. And if they don't, they don't. And, again, I think it's kind of one of those bittersweet things where every day it's a bittersweet taste to realize that nobody gives a fuck about you or what you're doing, because it gives you the freedom to do whatever the fuck you want. I think if people cared, then all their input would come in and you probably wouldn't do half the stuff you wanted, because you'd be too worried. Like I was when I was a kid. Is my girlfriend going to get mad, or my friends are going to think I'm cool? Like, I don't give a fuck about any of that. I don't give a fuck if anyone likes me besides my kids. And I don't need anyone for shit. I don't need anybody for anything. So it's like, I guess I am kind of at a weird place in life where, because I don't need anyone for anything, I'm not really a part of any community. Right? Like my kids, the biggest stressors between them and I is they don't know anything about doing anything for themselves, because I do it all. I cook dinner, I bring it to them, and I treat my daughters like, I treat my, I've always had the same ideas when I was dating women, pulling out chairs, making sure that their meals are given to them on the table first before you plate yours up and bring it to you. Just old school shit like that I think my dad instilled in me. I don't really know. My mom might have been a part of that too, but my mom was really big on, you respect women. You here's how you can show and be chivalrous to women. My mom was big on that. So I was always big on that, and I always did it with the idea of, like, when I bring my girlfriend or my wife her food first, I want my daughter to see that. I want her to see her mom gets her plate first, and then my daughter gets her plate, and then dad gets his, because it's dad's joy in life to be able to present you with a good meal at the end of the day. That's, as your father, there's very few things that I can guarantee you, but spending engaged time with you, watching me respect your mother, and setting an example for what a man that cares about you does when he cares about you, that's something that I want her to take in, so that way she doesn't pick bums when she grows up. Like, she's not picking dudes that are out cheating on her. She's not picking dudes that are treating her like shit or putting hands on her or not paying attention to where she's at when she's walking through a parking lot. Like, I want the person that finds my daughters to love her the same way I do. And that scares the fuck out of me, because I know nobody will. But I've also learned I don't think many people love like I do. Like, love is like a sport to me. I study it. And it's been the only passion I've had my whole life, is how to properly love people. And again, I've studied the playbook my whole life on how to treat people right, how to be kind, how to be generous, how to be genuine, how to show passion, I've tried to learn all those things. And if the only reason I end up learning them is so I can share them with my daughters, well, that'll still be the greatest joy in my life, is that I get to share my love with my daughters. Yeah. So, as much of a ramble as I can give you on why I'm alone all the time, I guess that's it. In a way, I was a hopeless romantic who gave up. You can see it as a way of I don't know. I'm someone who I guess was driven into the wild because I feel like that's where I belong. I just don't feel like I fit in with people. I don't feel like people like me very much, and I love all people very much, to the point where I want to know everyone's story, and I want to know what makes them tick, and I want to know where they came from, and if there was something I could do to help them along this journey. And I've just learned that I don't think there's really most people that's supposed to be on your journey for a long time. I think you're just supposed to affect people the way you do during the times you have them, and if you never speak to them again, you keep them as a memory and hope that every moment was so fulfilling that every memory becomes a beautiful one. That if all you have is to walk through the hills and replay memories, well, you should have a great day, because if every time you encounter someone, you make sure you have a great encounter with them, you'll just have nothing but great memories. And I can tell you I have a lot of good ones. I'm working to get some back. Over years of drug and alcohol abuse, I have dampened quite a few memories. And there's, like I said, I had never mentioned Paige's name before, but there's a lot of stuff that I just don't remember because drugs and alcohol are a hell of a thing, and they'll numb out your brain, they'll numb out your memory, and now it's just kind of cool to be able to walk through the woods, and I have smells that take me back to football practices when I was 9 and shit that I'm like, oh my god, I completely forgot. And in my head, I'm standing there in my oversized jersey, my shoulder pads that are too big, my helmet's fucking bobbling around because I'm too small to play football, but and I can live in that. And I learned that that's beautiful. And not being able to speak and share that with someone and go, oh, I just had this really cool moment inside my own head, doesn't make it any less beautiful. Right? You gotta learn. You gotta learn to love yourself and love being in your own experience, and, sharing your own love with your own self. It feels good sometimes. But that's something you have to learn how to do. Like when you're having a beautiful moment, let yourself have it. Don't kill it because there's no one to share it with. Have the whole moment. Have it like you're going to tell yourself about it again later, because you will. It's called a memory. So, yeah, that's the answer. For all the people that ask, why am I alone all the time? It's life, baby. It's a lonely bitch. Life's a bitch and then you die, right? I don't know. It's good. Everything's good. I love you guys so much. Check in. If you can relate to any of this, let me know. And check out everything. If you're only listening on audio, check out the YouTube. If you're listening on YouTube, go over and rate and review on the audio platforms. We're on everywhere you find podcasts. Know how much I love you, and I'll check in with you guys next week. See you.